Okay, everybody, I'm going to walk you through the overall recording of your Décima. I'm going to do it quickly because I'm just showing you what you have to do in order to make it work. But I want you to be thoughtful about the choices that you make. So let's start from the very beginning, even though the first half of it you've already done. To create a new project, I click on this folder, Mix Editor. I'm going to choose a voice microphone, and if you get prompted to give your computer access to the microphone, please do that. When we recorded it, we wanted to have a beat track going. So we're going to add the drum machine. I'm going to select out of here, drag this piece down so it's out of the way, stretch this piece out so it gets to be 5. So it's 5 blocks. And we're going to do the same with this one. Stretch it out to be 5 blocks. Each of these blocks represents one measure. Be very cognizant of these numbers at the top of the screen. This tells you each measure, and we want all of our loops and everything to line up with those. Okay, now what we did was we also emphasized the strong beats in here. So if I come down here and I choose pattern A, and I put something on beat 1, on 8th note number 4, and on 8th note number 7, that should give me that pattern that I want. Remember, that's how we're supposed to read our decimas. And we want to do the same thing for B. So I put 1 on. And there's no clapping over here, and that was a great sound. So I'm going to use this drop down, choose clap, put 1 on 1, 1 on 4, 1 on 7, and now I'll have that in both of these as I read my Décima. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to call this my Décima 2022, and I want to add the lyrics. So I'm going to open up this lyric window. So this is open over here. It was down here. I'm going to go into where I have my own Décima. So this is the one that I wrote down with the class, but you'll have your own. If for some reason you don't have one, maybe you came to school after we did it, you can use the one that we have as the group one. So I highlighted everything in the right column, Control C to copy, and then I pasted in here, Control V. I'm going to put a little space between the first 5 lines and the second 5 lines so that I know I'm recording this here and this part here. Okay, now I want to turn on my metronome so that there's a little count off. And if you don't think that you can go at the 120 beats per minute, you can slow that tempo down and it will record at a slower tempo. I'm ready. I make sure I have this track highlighted. I hit the record button and I read. I delight in eating pizza in the food court. Looky, looky for dessert, chocolate cookies. To hunger, said by Felicia. I just give the clerk my visa. But now my attention's drifting. I just got a whiff of chicken. I feel just like an obese cat gnawing on a juicy fat rat. Boy, that meal was finger licking. Once you have a recording that you're satisfied with, you're going to trim these other pieces up. If your recording doesn't sound like it's lining up with the beat, even though you know that you did it on the beat, don't forget that you can run a latency test. Just hit latency test and start test. Once you get an OK, just click off and it'll be fine. All right, so I want to splice this. I want to get rid of the extra stuff. So I come over here and I hit the splice tool. I come over here and I hit the splice tool. And I come over here and I hit the splice tool. It will not splice unless you have this highlighted. So whatever's surrounded in white is what you're splicing. So if it doesn't look like it's allowing you to splice, or if it's going to the wrong one, it's because you have the wrong thing picked. Get rid of the extra pieces. Okay, now we're ready to start adding the other pieces. In your Google Classroom, there is a new project for us. And it is going to be this BandLab assignment. So let's read it together. Using your recorded audio from the last BandLab project thing we just did, create an arrangement using the loop library. In addition to your voice, you must use 3 other parts: a bass line, a rhythm part, and a melody. Your arrangement should have parts enter and leave throughout the song and not just be all looped from beginning to end. It should have a clearly defined beginning and end, and if the loops don't come to a natural end, you should use fade using the automation button. The balance of your track should be such that when you are speaking, the voice is the dominant track. Okay, so make sure you understand that before you start. I'll be demonstrating it for you, but let's also take a look at the rubric. Okay, I'm going to just shoot for the number 4s for everything, because so you know what I'm expecting you to do. So you have to have those 3 different parts. You have chosen 3 different loops representing percussion, bass, and melody. It's not going to necessarily say those things in the loop library. You're going to have to look for things for rhythm. You're going to look for things like beat or drums or percussion. For melody, you're going to look for things like lead or piano or guitar or synth. There's other ones as well, but that's the things that you're going to be looking for. And for the bass section, it probably will say bass, so you're going to look for bass. Okay, so you have chosen 3 different loops representing percussion, bass, and melody, and have arranged them in a way that is pleasing and interesting. That is, not all the parts all the way through. I don't want one block of everything happening from beginning to end. Play with the loops in sets of 8 beats for the best results. So if you nail it, if it's perfect, what you're going to have is you have used at least 3 unique loops from each of the 3 categories. All parts fit together in a pleasing way, same key, and lined up with the beat. I'll show you what that means. I'll show you how to find the same key. Beginning and ending. Your song has a pleasing sound to start and finish. It is clear that you have put thought into how your piece starts and ends. If the loop doesn't have a natural sounding ending, you have used a fade to bring the song to a close, and you don't start with the spoken section. So that's really key. That thing that is at the very beginning right now needs to be moved. It can't be at the beginning. The arrangement. Your song is arranged in a pleasing way. Loops all line up correctly with the beats and enter and exit in a meaningful way. To get it perfect, your song employs Mr. Gleason's tips of chunking your music in clusters of 8 or 16, which I'll show you. There is a constant flow of new ideas to keep the song sounding interesting and fresh. All loops line up correctly on the beats. The composition does not begin or end with the spoken parts. Balance. Your composition is all designed to showcase what you recorded with your voice. The voice is never overpowered by the other tracks. To get perfect, you have perfectly balanced your recording. Your voice part stands out and the other parts flow in and out of each other without pulling the ear's attention. You have used the automation or the levels or have reduced tracks when the voice part is playing to make sure that everything centers around voice. All right. So, with that in mind, I know that I can't start with this. I also don't necessarily need this drum machine anymore. For right now, I'm just going to mute it. I might want to get rid of it altogether, but for now, I'm just going to mute it. Listen to my thing.
I delight in eating pizza in the food court.
So right now, I can turn the metronome off. I don't need that anymore. It was just for me recording this.
Looky for dessert, chocolate cookies. To hunger, say bye, Felicia. I just give the clerk my visa.
If you're happy with that tempo, you can keep it there. If you're unhappy with it, you can increase it now. I'm going to go ahead and increase it. So I'm going to put it at 120. You don't have to. If you do that, it's going to ask you if you want to adjust the regions. Please say yes. Now this one automatically fits, but now this one needs to be slid back over to get to where it was before. All right, next, I need to start adding some loops. So I'm going to go into my loop library. You can choose any loop from any library, but if you choose from within a pack, you're more likely going to get things that sound nice together. So for this one, I think I'm going to go for an 80s sound. There's a lot of 80s stuff in here. You can also just scroll through and see what you got. But let's see. Let's do some 80s Supreme. Stuff is labeled bass. That's one of the things I'm looking for, so let me listen. I kind of like it. Like I said, I'm not going to be picky because right now I'm just trying to give you an idea of what you need to do, but you should be picky about what you pick, about what you select. I'm going to go ahead and drag this onto the timeline. Often doesn't line up when I bring it in, so I'm going to slide it down once it's there. And I'm also going to mute my voice part right now so that I can focus on the music. So I like this. This sounds pretty good. Let's go back and hear it. Obviously, I don't want it to just happen once, so I'm going to loop that out. I'm going to grab this corner and loop it out for a little bit. Let it go for a good rule of thumb, as I put in the rubric, is to go. This is 2 measures, 4 measures, 12 measures, and 16 measures, right? So it's good to go in those kind of chunks. You don't want to go too much further than this. And I might even want to cut it back to here. But on the second loop, it makes sense for something new to start to happen. So I'm going to look for either a melody line or a percussion line to join me. So I think maybe, let's see, let's do a melody. So I'm looking for things. Synth might be good. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, let's grab that. And I'll drag it here. And as I said, I want it to start right as the second loop of that bass part starts. So let's see what those two sound like together. Let's do that another time. So we'll have that go twice. And that, I think, would be a great place to have some percussion join in. Right there sounds like a great place to have something kick in with the drum. So I'm looking for some percussion stuff. Oh, guitar might have been good for our melody too, but let's see. I've got some beats. That's one of the things I can look for. What do I have here for beats? Like I said, I'm not going to be picky, but that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to drag that one in. Have that start right as this is ending. And that might be a really good place for me to start my reading. So if I go to there, it's pretty good. Let's see what that sounds like so far. Bass part, synth, synth. This is going to stop. The bass will continue. Okay, so this was a bad choice. It doesn't sound good, right? Let's get rid of it. Choose something different. Let's try a different beat. That's going to be better, I think. Drag that in. Make another loop of that. We'll do a couple for now. Maybe 4. Let's see what that sounds like. Like it. Okay, so this is a great place because this has stopped to bring in my voice part. So I'm going to move all this stuff down. If I want to select all of these, I'm just going to kind of come outside here and draw a lasso around all 4 of those for now. Slide them down so that that voice part starts right as the synth. Actually, let's try it here, and if I don't like it here, I might move it back 1 spot, but let's see what that sounds like.
Bored and chocolate cookies, 200 by Felicia. I just give the clerk my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Let's move it back just to see if it sounds any better if I start it a couple bars earlier. Might be better. Did you notice that it wasn't playing when I first started it? That's because I had this muted still. So make sure that you unmute if you want to hear. Let's go ahead and listen to it again. All right, I love how that sounds. Now the next thing I want to do is probably have this come in again. That little was kind of a neat sounding thing to have after this part. So I'm going to grab it, Control C to copy it, bring my cursor back to the right spot, Control V to paste it. Now that's going to happen again right there. And maybe I keep that drum beat going now. I could probably keep that going for a while. That was pretty good, and it kind of ties everything together. So this time started right after that ended, so let's make this next one also start right after that ends. Let's grab this and slide these two down so that they start after that little dee-dee-dee-dee ends. And we'll see how that sounds right now. We'll go right from the beginning. Bass line. So I actually think that it needs the bass line there too as well. So I'm going to grab that bass line, Control C to copy, start the bass line right here too, Control V to paste. Let's make it a little shorter this time. Let's bring it just to here, and we'll have this come in after that. Maybe we drag this down to the end. See what that sounds like. Okay, so pretty good, except for now the end is too abrupt, and I don't want you to end with this either. So let's put that bass line in to kind of make it symmetrical. I'm going to grab this again, copy it. Let's bring it in right here as the other part ends. And maybe we'll do one more of these guys too. Maybe we'll make this a little smaller. And let's see how that end sounds. Okay, so I've got a good idea. I think this loop should go one more section. So the drums will go kind of through this, and then they'll cut out, and then this part kind of ends the song. But here, first of all, let's listen to the whole thing again. I think this is pretty good. And then we'll fix the balance, because the balance is still a little bit off. Bass line brings it in. Synth. Actually, I don't hate the end, but I'm going to show you how to fade out just in case you want to do it. It sounds pretty much okay the way it is, but the balance is off. So first I'll show you how to fade out. Or first I'll show you how to fix the balance. We can bring up the volume on just the voice part here. That should be the loudest thing. We want that to stand out above everything else. And we can take the rest of them down. So I'm going to take this drum machine down a bit, take the bass down a bit, take the synth down a bit, take the 80s beat down a bit, and see if that balances a little better.
But now my attention's drifting, I just got a whiff of chicken. I feel just like an obese cat gnawing on a juicy fat rat. Wait, that feels finger licking.
I like it, and I like it how it is, but I'm going to show you how to fade just in case you want to do it. So if you want to fade, it's this button right here. Click it on, and then choose the tracks. You don't really need to fade the stuff that's already stopped, but the stuff that's at the end of the song, like maybe right here, I put a little dot. It's called a node, and I come down here and I drag another node and I drag it down. So right here, when it hits that part of the song, it's going to start to fade out. I'll turn that back off so I don't accidentally make a mistake, but you'll hear that that's what happens now. So it faded out at the end. Okay. There's one more thing I want to check on before we start to look at a rubric and make sure that it satisfies all of our requirements, and that is, do I want the drum machine to go or not? I can turn it back on and see how it sounds with the drum machine. I might like it. Let's see.
My attention's drifting, I just got a whiff of chicken. I feel just like an obese cat gnawing on a juicy fat rat. Wait, that feels finger licking.
And I like it a lot. I think that sounds pretty good. So if I had, so I will keep the drum machine on. If I didn't like it, I could either keep it muted, or I can, if I click these three dots and I go to the bottom, I can delete that whole track. I actually like it, so I'm going to leave it on. All right, now let's go back and look at our rubric. I've used 3 loops from 3 categories. Let's go back and check. So bass line, synth part, and a beat part. So those are my 3 things. I've got that thing satisfied. All parts fit together in a pleasing way, same key and lined up with the beat. I forgot to show you about the key. The key is over here. So this says it's in B major. These are all in B major. That's the one thing that is an advantage of keeping within the same pack, is I think they all work together more or less. You can choose loops from other places, but you kind of want to see that they're in the same key. Okay. All right. If they aren't in the same key, but they sound good together, if you put it in, it's like, okay, that works. Then that's fine. But there's a chance that they won't, so just be aware of that. So same key and lined up with the beat. Good, perfect. I'm going to get all 4 points for those 3 parts, for the 3-part section. For the beginning and ending, your song has a pleasing sounding start and finish. It's clear that you have put thought in how your piece starts and ends. If a loop doesn't have a natural sounding ending, you have used a fade to bring the song to a close. You don't start with the spoken section. So I don't start with my spoken section. Check. Has a nice start, the way it kind of builds up from the bass line. And I used the fade on the end to make sure that it was a nice fade out. I didn't need the fade on this particular one, but I put it in to show you, but you could, you might need to do it, or you might not need to do it. Let's go back. So, check. Arrangement. Your song employs Mr. Gleason's tips for chunking your music in clusters of 8 or 16. We did that. There's a constant flow of new ideas to keep the song sounding interesting and fresh. All the loops line up correctly on the beats. The composition does not begin or end with the spoken parts. So this is that big one. Does not end or begin with the spoken parts. It doesn't. Spoken parts here starts on measure 7 ends on measure 21, even though my song ends on measure 25. So there's some space between when those parts happen and the beginning and the end. Everything's kind of piled together in the right way. They all line up with the beats, just like I want. Check, check, check. That's 4 points for the arrangement and the balance. Your composition is all designed to showcase what you've recorded with your voice. The voice is never overpowered by the other tracks. You have perfectly balanced your recording. The voice part stands out. The other parts flow in and out of each other without pulling the ear's attention. You have used the automation or the levels or have reduced tracks when the voice part is playing to make sure that everything centers around the voice. Remember, we brought these levels down so that they wouldn't overshadow the voice. That was what that was. That was our balance. Okay? So everything's good. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And I'm going to close this up and we'll listen to it one more time so you can kind of see how things are put together. And I think that's going to be a good place for you to start working on yours. So let's one more time through.
I like to eat pizza in some keyboard in a chocolate cookie fingers. I believe I just put my pizza. But now my attention is shifted. I just got a whiff of chicken. I feel just like an obese cat gnawing on a juicy fat rat. Wait, that is finger licking.
I like it. All right, so that's what you got to do. That's it. Good luck.